My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find a link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 16. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Vincent Neff, frontman for UK indie rock band Django Django. The band are releasing their 4th studio record tomorrow, entitled Glowing in the Dark. In today's episode, we had a short chat with Vinny about the new record, elements of science fiction within the band's work, and the music that got him through lockdown. Here we go. Our guest today is the singer and guitarist for UK band Django Django. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Vincent Neff. Hey Vinny, how you going?
Yeah, all good. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem.
Now, congratulations are in order for the new record. Glowing in the Dark is out tomorrow worldwide, and it's the band's 4th studio record and the first one in over 3 years. What was the inspiration for this record?
I think we normally basically look at all the kind of stuff we've done on the last record, and we kind of start at a point where things we would like to do differently. So I think, I think that's kind of normally the kind of starting point we start at. And then I think it was pretty much like business as normal in terms of like, I think we had an idea of like maybe making it a slightly more palette, like one palette of music, maybe making an electronic album or something that was a bit more stripped back, like acoustic. But invariably somebody writes something the total opposite, and then you're kind of back into the same, space of like having like lots of different mashup of kind of sounds. But I think we definitely wanted to make it more focused and make the storytelling better, and the kind of like lyrics, like do something different than we've done in the past. And yeah, I think that was kind of the place we kind of started with. And we'd all kind of moved to different like locations. Like Tommy, our keyboardist, moved to Glasgow, and Jim had moved to the South Coast, so the dynamic had kind of shifted. It was me and Dave. It's kind of like me and Dave back in his bedroom again, opposed to like Marble Skies, which was all 4 of us kind of in the room every day, which you created like a different sound altogether. So yeah, like those kind of locational shifts and seeing what we'd done before and what we wanted to change and stuff was kind of the point we started at.
Of course, yeah. It is the 4th studio record that you've done. It used to always kind of be that the second record was the difficult follow-up record, and then I feel like there's actually a little bit of pressure these days on the third. But with it being the 4th, did you guys feel that there was a bit of pressure off yourselves and that you guys could do kind of like, as you said, being able to explore or do things that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, and like having, you kind of make, obviously because you go over that amount of albums, you make missteps or things you would have done differently, and you learn a lot as you go along. And that's just it's not just music, but like the visuals and just decisions you make, along the way. You kind of just gain more experience, like as you go. And I think, as you say, on the fourth album, I think nobody's kind of going. You just have got, you've got your kind of self to please in some ways, like and push. And I think it's definitely something we wanted to kind of hone down, or maybe get back to elements that we'd done on the first record in terms of keeping tracks like kind of quite snappy and keeping them quite, I suppose in the first record, we had like it was all done in Dave's bedroom, and like a limited palette of, instruments. It was like all crappy kind of old gear, and there was a kind of naivety to it. And it was a bit like when me and him were back in the studio a lot of the time, it just felt a bit like that again. So we just try to bring all those elements together really, and makes, like have fun making it as well. Because I think sometimes when you get bogged down and stuff, and when things become a bit of a, if you're not enjoying it, you can really hear it in the music.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think I think we really enjoyed making it and kind of playing around with stuff. And I think you can always hear that in music when it's not a slog. We kind of moved into a track a day idea where we were getting bogged down early in the album, where it might be like 2 or 3 weeks on a track, and things were just getting quite it just wasn't really enjoyable. So we kind of switched to this track a day idea, and it meant that at the end of the day you had a song. Now it didn't really matter if it was good or bad, it was a track, and you got a bit of lyrics in there, and you parked it, and the next day you started again, and it kind of freed up the whole thing. We started to kind of have more fun with it, and that's where a lot of the tracks really came out of.
I feel like you guys do have a very distinctive sound, where it does almost like, it sounds like you guys are having fun, but it's also like there's like a futuristic kind of sound to the music, if that makes sense. Almost like a kind of cleanish sheen to it, but it's very you. It's very distinctive. Was that always? I guess was having your own sound something that you guys had always wanted from the beginning? Was it like a premeditated idea?
I think it's something that just we can't even help. Like, even if we wanted to break out of ourselves, we couldn't. It's just inherent in what we do. The beats we kind of start with, or the bass line, everything, just every component really is like from the samples we look to, or the synth sounds that we like. Everything really is, I suppose, like it's kind of there. It's been there already, for years. Yeah. Just in terms of the music we've listened to, and the areas of, like the kind of genres of music or areas of music we go to, as kind of, I think it's all kind of probably been predetermined about 25 years ago. And it just comes to the fore when you're kind of in and starting to write. Yeah. Right again. So I think there is some artists who've been able to make, like I'm just thinking of like Neil Young. He wrote that album. Is it Trans Am or something? Like he wrote this electronic album. I'm always really admire somebody like that who can do something completely different than what they normally would have done.
Hey, it's Sharon, and here's where it gets interesting. Raise your hand if you want salon perfect nails for just $2 a manicure. Yeah, Me too. With the Olive and June Mani system, you can say goodbye to expensive services that take hours and hours and love your nails more than ever. I would know. I've been doing it for years. Get 20% off your first Mani system with code PERFECTMANI20 at oliveandjune.com/PERFECTMANI20. That's PERFECTMANI20 at oliveandjune.com/PERFECTMANI20.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
I suppose we have that sound, and even though every track sounds quite different, you know, you've got like a kind of acidy track, like the Arc in there, and then you've got the World Return. I think underneath it all, it's kind of underpinned by mostly like vocals and treatments that can kind of bind things together, even maybe things that maybe seem quite separate in a way.
Yeah, even if you guys are trying new things, it is a bit of a signature stamp almost.
Yeah.
The new single "Free from Gravity" came out last week, and the video features a small little green alien roaming the streets at night. I've also noticed there's some UFO posters on the band's Instagram. Is this record possibly leaning into any kind of science fiction style content?
I think like Dave, our drummer, is like a huge, that's his area really. Like he, you don't get him started on it because you're not getting out of the room very quickly. But it's like, he's been in that since he was like 10. And like if you drive around the States with him, he'll be like, "Oh, that's Skunk Works." And I was like, "What's the Skunk Works?" It's like, "Oh, it's where they have all the kind of declassified UFOs." And you're like, he just kind of has all this kind of info and at his kind of disposal, and he buys lots of like little, like 2 little alien heads will appear in the studio where there'll be like a little patch on his jacket with some kind of weird, insignia. So he wrote the treatment for Gravity, not surprisingly. And it's about this kid who you're never quite sure if it's an alien or it's a kid dressed in an alien suit. You're never quite sure if it's a real alien or a kid. But I suppose it just plays into that idea that the kid this thing is quite alienated. So he kind of revels in that area.
That's really cool. Yeah. A lot of people have felt, I guess, on the subject, have felt quite alienated in the last year with COVID bringing shows to a standstill. I know you guys have a socially distant show this week. What did you personally miss the most about touring and getting out there to be able to play shows?
It's such a good, like when you write music and then you play it, it's almost like, when comedians do their, like, in London here before the Fringe Festival in August, in Edinburgh, like you'll get a lot of comedians kind of doing small gigs to test, the kind of road test stuff. Yeah. And it's a bit like that for musicians, I think. Like you write the music, but then you kind of do a version of it for a live audience, and you think, will it work? And then you play it, and you like the section you thought was going to go off bombs, and the section that you thought was like the kind of down moment really works, and you're like, oh right, you're kind of learning like a lot about the music. Also, if you're writing it whilst you're playing, is even better. Like if you're kind of writing an album, you can kind of stick a track in and play it on a Saturday night somewhere, and you kind of get a vibe. It almost crystallizes the track a little bit.
Yeah.
So not having that to and fro is quite, I've missed it a lot. But just mainly like being in a space with people, and I suppose I think we had most of this record written by the time the kind of COVID thing had kind of started. It might, like we've because we haven't been touring, we've just been writing. So maybe like the next album or next EP or whatever might have that more of that kind of feeling in it. But I think we've always been a band like this. Was written, I think this album Glowing in the Dark was written during Brexit over here, where like kind of really kind of right wing viewpoints seemed to be kind of almost the norm. And it was a bit of a toxic kind of place to be, and obviously a lot of the right were very much gaining power in all the different kind of, it seemed like a lot of different countries. And I think that kind of theme is in there, in that terms of like, that idea of being stuck in a place that's like, in a crap kind of political and atmospheric situation that you kind of almost dream off and kind of imagine yourself somewhere else, like a better place.
Yeah, listening to the record, I could definitely kind of feel or pick up on some of the vibes of, I guess, as you said, feeling alienated or just kind of wanting to get out of current surroundings or situations. Yeah. Vinny, usually we would discuss a playlist on the show. Due to time, do you have a record that you've been spinning heaps or that was kind of your go-to during lockdown?
Yeah. I found this record. It's like an old one, but it's by a girl called Rupa, R-O-P-A, and it's called Disco Jazz. But it's this Indian girl who lived in Canada, and she had like an Indian band, and she went into this studio in I think it wasn't like a city, it was like a kind of suburban town. I made this weird, slightly like Indian band living in Canada. You do get a sense, like it entertains me no end. It was like a really rare disco record, and then I think it's been reissued recently, but every track is totally amazing. And it's got like there's a lot of kind of fun in it, which is quite good for these kind of times.
Yeah, definitely. I think, anything with a title like Disco Jazz, I think can be helpful during these times. That record sounds awesome. Vinny, I know we had limited time tonight, so thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. It is very much appreciated.
No problem. Thanks very much.
No, my pleasure. Take care.
Cheers now. Bye. Bye.
And that's our show. Thank you again to Vincent Neff from Django Django. Their fourth studio record, Glowing in the Dark, is out tomorrow. We've included a link in the show notes if you want to purchase the record on vinyl. We also want to give a shout out to Sammie and Jade at Beehive PR for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of our previous playlists. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday morning with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Until next week, cheers.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. That's what you'll feel with Boll & Branch's best-selling signature sheets in 100% organic cotton. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. Start getting your best night's sleep in sheets that get softer and softer for years to come. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com, code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.